Beneath the gilded ceilings of Buckingham Palace and behind the manicured hedges of Highgrove House, a quiet storm continues to brew within the world's most famous dynasty. For centuries, the British royal family has lived its life in the spotlight, a gilded fishbowl where every gesture, every glance, and every prolonged silence is analyzed by millions around the globe. Yet, beneath the grand ceremonies, the glittering tiaras, and the majestic state dinners lies a deeply human drama of fractured relationships, unspoken grievances, and a profound struggle between duty and blood. It is a story of two brothers who once stood shoulder to shoulder, united in grief after the tragic loss of their mother, but who now find themselves separated by a chasm that seems increasingly impossible to bridge. As the world watches, a subtle shift has occurred in the royal landscape, sparking intense speculation about the future of the monarchy and whether a family torn apart by years of public conflict can ever truly find a path toward reconciliation. Before we dive deeper into the complex layers of this royal divide and uncover the hidden motivations driving the key players in this high-stakes family drama, we would love to have you along for the journey. If you appreciate detailed insights into the lives, struggles, and defining moments of the global stage, please take a quick moment to subscribe to our channel. By subscribing, you will never miss an episode of our deep dive reporting, and you will help us continue bringing you the stories that shape our world with the depth and context they deserve. The latest chapter in this ongoing royal saga unfolded against the backdrop of a quiet summer afternoon in Gloucestershire, where King Charles and Queen Camilla hosted a highly private reunion that few could have anticipated. For the first time in 4 long years, the king was reunited with his younger son, Prince Harry, his daughter-in-law, Meghan Markle, and his 2 young grandchildren, Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet. This meeting, held away from the prying eyes of the press and the relentless flashbulbs of the paparazzi, represented a monumental moment for a father navigating a challenging personal health battle. For a monarch living with cancer, the opportunity to embrace his grandchildren and spend quiet hours with his family carries a weight that transcends the protocols of royalty. It was an intimate family gathering that highlighted the vulnerable, human side of a king who, despite his immense responsibilities, remains a father and a grandfather at heart. Yet, while this reunion marked a significant milestone, it also cast sharp contrasting light on the icy silence that remains between the two brothers who once shared everything. Indeed, as Prince Harry and his family arrived at Highgrove House, Prince William, the Prince of Wales, was conspicuously absent from the family gathering. To those who have followed the royal family's journey over the past decade, this absence came as no surprise, yet its symbolic weight was undeniable. While King Charles opened his doors and his heart to his younger son, the future King of England chose to maintain a resolute distance. This split response from the crown's most senior figures raises profound questions about the nature of forgiveness, the heavy burden of future leadership, and the differing pressures faced by a reigning monarch compared to the heir who must one day secure the longevity of the institution itself. It is a delicate balancing act between the personal desires of a father looking to heal his family in his twilight years and the strategic calculations of a future sovereign who believes that some lines once crossed cannot simply be erased by a single afternoon of conversation. To understand the depth of Prince William's position, one must look closely at the immense weight of the inheritance that awaits him. As the Prince of Wales, William's entire life has been a preparation for the ultimate responsibility of wearing the crown. In his view, the challenges facing the modern monarchy are not just personal, but existential. While his father, King Charles, can afford to focus on his immediate legacy and the personal closure of reconciling with his family, William must look decades into the future. For the heir to the throne, the primary objective is the absolute stability and preservation of the institution he will one day inherit. In this grand calculus, personal feelings must often be set aside in favor of a much larger, more enduring goal. From William's perspective, the primary concern when dealing with his estranged brother has never been a simple question of whether they are family, but rather a fundamental question of trust. In the high-stakes world of the British monarchy, where public perception is the ultimate currency, trust is not merely a personal virtue. It is the very foundation upon which the survival of the crown depends. As the summer sun shone down on the rolling hills of the English countryside, the two brothers found themselves physically closer than they had been in months. Yet emotionally, they remained worlds apart. While Prince Harry prepared for his quiet family reunion at Highgrove, Prince William was carrying out his own duties just a short distance away, presenting a striking picture of two parallel lives running on entirely different tracks. The contrast was palpable, illustrating a profound division that goes far beyond a simple disagreement. This is a story of two men who have chosen radically different paths, each believing they are doing what is right for themselves, their families, and the legacies they carry. As we prepare to look closer at the events of that fateful week, the question remains, can a single afternoon of peace truly heal years of public betrayal, or has the gap between the future king and his brother become too wide to ever close again? The physical and emotional distance between the two brothers was never more apparent than during their highly publicized, yet entirely separate, appearances on a single July day in the heart of London. While the British capital is a vast and bustling metropolis, on that particular Tuesday, it felt incredibly small as Prince William and Prince Harry carried out their respective duties just miles apart, moving through the same city like two ships passing in the night. The older brother, Prince William, focused his attention on the future of the nation, visiting the London Welsh school, Ysgol Gymraeg Lundain, where he engaged warmly with educators, parents, and young children, projecting the image of a steady, reliable leader deeply committed to community and local heritage. Meanwhile, just a short drive away, Prince Harry attended a major conference hosted by the Invictus Games Foundation at Chatham House, focusing on policy and practice for wounded veterans. Both men were surrounded by crowds, both were performing their public duties with poise and dedication, yet the invisible wall between them remained absolutely impenetrable. A stark testament to the depth of their estrangement, this separation was not merely a matter of scheduling, but a deliberate choice, reflecting a deep-seated rift that has been years in the making and was laid bare before the world in Prince Harry's explosive 2023 memoir titled Spare. In those pages, the Duke of Sussex stripped away the carefully managed veneer of royal perfection, revealing a childhood and young adulthood defined by feelings of second-class status, resentment, and a bitter sibling rivalry. Harry painted a vivid portrait of growing up in the shadow of the heir, describing a system that he felt consistently favored his older brother and left him feeling like a disposable backup plan. The revelations were deeply personal, shocking the public and devastating the royal household, which had always prided itself on keeping internal family matters strictly behind closed doors. For Prince William, the publication of the book was not just a betrayal of family trust, but a direct attack on his character and the institution he has sworn his life to protect. Leaving scars that time has done very little to heal, among the most damaging and highly publicized passages in the memoir was Harry's detailed account of a physical altercation that allegedly took place between the two brothers in London. An incident that served as a symbol of how completely their relationship had disintegrated. According to the book, the dispute began when Prince William arrived at Harry's home to discuss the ongoing difficulties surrounding Harry's wife, Meghan Markle. Harry claimed that William repeated the media's negative narrative, calling Meghan difficult, rude, and abrasive, which quickly escalated the tension between the two men. The argument allegedly culminated in William grabbing Harry by the collar, tearing his necklace, and physically knocking him to the kitchen floor, where Harry landed on a dog bowl that shattered beneath his back. This vivid, painful memory of physical violence between two grown princes, who had once been each other's closest allies in the wake of their mother's tragic death, shocked the public and made it clear that the damage to their bond was not a simple misunderstanding, but a deep structural fracture, following his decision to step down as a working member of the royal family in 2020. Prince Harry chose a radically different life, relocating with his family to the coastal enclave of Montecito, California, seeking freedom, privacy, and financial independence. This dramatic exit, often referred to by the public as Megxit, set off a chain of events that only served to widen the gap between Harry and the rest of his family in the United Kingdom. Moving to the United States allowed the Duke and Duchess of Sussex to speak their minds freely, but it also stripped them of the official protections and privileges they had previously enjoyed as active royals. The transition was far from smooth, marked by high-profile media interviews, a lucrative yet controversial Netflix documentary, and a series of legal battles that kept their names in the headlines, further alienating them from the quiet, protocol-driven world of Buckingham Palace. The tensions surrounding Harry's visits back to his homeland were further complicated by a bitter, ongoing dispute over his personal security. A conflict that reached a critical turning point during his recent trip to London. After stepping back from his royal duties, Harry was stripped of his taxpayer-funded police protection in the United Kingdom, a decision he has repeatedly challenged in the courts, arguing that his family remains at high risk without official state security. For this reason, Harry initially arrived in the United Kingdom alone, navigating the complex security landscape without the support of the Metropolitan Police. It was only after intensive planning and assurances that his wife, Meghan, and their two children, Archie and Lilibet, joined him for the private reunion at Highgrove House. Though their arrival was kept completely secret and they made absolutely no public appearances as a family, while the family reunion offered a temporary moment of personal peace. Prince Harry's trip was also overshadowed by a major legal setback in his ongoing war against the British tabloid press. A UK High Court judge ruled against Harry and several other high-profile claimants in their privacy lawsuit against the publisher of the Daily Mail, Associated Newspapers. The claimants had accused the publisher of using unlawful information gathering methods, including phone hacking and wiretapping, to secure exclusive stories. However, the court ruled that they had failed to provide sufficient proof that these specific stories were obtained through illegal means, dealing a massive blow to Harry's long-standing crusade to hold the British media accountable. The legal battle has been incredibly taxing, not just emotionally, but financially, with reports confirming that the ongoing litigation has set the claimants back an astronomical $67 million, adding a heavy burden to an already stressful period in Harry's life, as the dust settled on the court ruling and the secret reunion at Highgrove concluded. The contrast between King Charles's approach and Prince William's approach became the focus of intense analysis. For King Charles, who is currently facing his own mortality while undergoing treatment for cancer, the priorities of a father and a grandfather have clearly taken precedence over the rigid demands of royal protocol. The king, now 77 years old, recognized that life is fragile and that the opportunity to see his grandchildren, whom he had not embraced in 4 years, was a precious gift that could not be taken for granted. However, for Prince William, the calculus is entirely different. William, at 44, must look forward to a reign that could last for decades, and he knows that the survival of the monarchy depends on its reputation for stability, discretion, and absolute loyalty. In William's mind, a single afternoon of pleasant conversation at Highgrove does not erase years of public criticism, and the fundamental question of whether his brother can ever be trusted with the secrets of the crown remains entirely unanswered. The deeply entrenched division between the two brothers highlights a profound truth about the modern British monarchy, which is that a reigning sovereign and a future king occupy entirely different roles, bound by different historical pressures and personal responsibilities. King Charles, in his twilight years and confronting a deeply serious health diagnosis, is operating from a place of emotional reconciliation and paternal instinct. Viewing his family through the lens of a father who wishes to see his children and grandchildren gathered under one roof before his time on earth draws to a close. For a monarch who has spent his entire life waiting to fulfill his destiny on the throne, the reality of his illness has brought a sharp focus to what truly matters when the crown is stripped away, allowing him to prioritize the healing of his personal relationships above the strict maintenance of institutional barriers. Yet, for Prince William, the luxury of thinking solely about personal legacy is something he cannot afford, as his primary duty is to ensure the long-term survival, dignity, and absolute integrity of the House of Windsor for generations to come. As the heir to the throne, William understands that the crown does not belong to the individual who wears it, but to the people and the nation it represents, requiring a level of discipline and a protection of trust that cannot be compromised by personal sentimentality. To appreciate the deep-seated nature of this royal impasse, one must examine the incredible journeys of the individuals involved and the monumental events that have rewritten the history of the royal family over the last 6 years. When Prince Harry and Meghan Markle made the monumental decision to step down from their official positions as senior working royals in 2020, they set off a geopolitical and cultural earthquake that permanently altered the landscape of the British establishment. The couple's subsequent move to Montecito, California, was intended to be a pursuit of a peaceful, private life. Yet their independence was quickly defined by a series of high-stakes media ventures that thrust their internal family conflicts into the global public square. From their explosive television interviews to their highly produced streaming series, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex presented a narrative that directly challenged the traditional tight-lipped operations of the palace. forcing the royal family to navigate a relentless wave of public scrutiny and criticism. For Prince William, who has dedicated his life to maintaining the dignity of the monarchy, these public disclosures were seen not just as an infringement on family privacy, but as a deliberate and ongoing threat to the very stability of the institution he is bound by birth to defend. The emotional complexity of this estrangement is further heightened by the shared history of the two brothers, who were once considered the closest of allies, bound together by a unique and tragic childhood bond that many believed could never be broken. The world still remembers the heartbreaking image of two young princes walking side by side behind their mother's coffin through the crowded streets of London, a moment of profound, shared grief that forged a deep connection between William and Harry in the eyes of the global public. For over 2 decades, they supported one another through the intense challenges of royal life, military service, and public duty, presenting a united front that symbolized the vibrant future of a modern, forward-looking British monarchy. To see that unbreakable bond completely shattered, to the point where the brothers can inhabit the same city and attend events just miles apart without a single word or gesture of acknowledgement, is a stark reminder of how deeply the wounds of recent years have cut into the fabric of their relationship. Rebuilding that level of fractured trust is an extraordinarily difficult task, requiring far more than a single afternoon of polite conversation at Highgrove House or a brief pause in public hostilities as Prince Harry, Meghan, and their young children, Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet, departed the United Kingdom to return to their life in California. The absolute silence from both Buckingham Palace and Kensington Palace spoke volumes about the reality of the situation. No official photographs of the historic family reunion were released to the public, no formal statements were issued to celebrate the gathering, and no hints of a broader family reconciliation were dropped by palace insiders, leaving the world to understand that the meeting was a strictly private family matter with no bearing on the official stance of the monarchy. While King Charles may have found a moment of profound personal comfort in embracing his grandchildren after 4 years of separation, the strategic operational structure of the royal family remains entirely unchanged, with Prince William continuing to stand as a resolute bulwark against the reintegration of his brother into the trusted inner circle of the firm. The path forward for the British monarchy remains firmly tethered to the principles of duty, discretion, and institutional stability, with the Prince of Wales holding the line to ensure that the crown is protected from further public exposure and controversy. This ongoing saga serves as a compelling reminder that even within the most powerful and storied institutions in the world, the human heart remains susceptible to the painful complexities of pride, betrayal, and the difficult search for forgiveness. The royal drama is far from over, and as King Charles continues his courageous battle with cancer and Prince William steps further into the immense responsibilities of leadership, the decisions made by these two brothers will continue to shape the perception of the British monarchy on the global stage. Whether time will eventually heal these deep structural fractures, or whether the division between the future king and the Duke of Sussex will remain a permanent feature of their legacies, is a question that only the passing of years can truly answer.